So let's get into it. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. I make videos on career, education, lifestyle, and whatever else I feel like making. Thank you for being here today. It's going to be a value add of a video, I hope, because I'll be talking about my entire master's in analytics application story, specifically what it was like to prepare to apply, the colleges I applied for, as well as where I got into, and then where I ultimately went. So if any of that is interesting to you, please stick around. Would also really love it if you took a second to subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. It feels like a standing kind of video today, so that's why I'm up, out and about. I've talked about this a couple of times already. My undergrad was in psychology, so I was definitely not a traditional applicant that studied engineering or computer science or even analytics. I came from a completely different social science / science background. Another caveat is that there weren't as many programs available 2 to 3 years ago as there are even now. The amount of programs that have started recently, even just in the past couple of years, has skyrocketed. So generally, the types of things that I needed for my application were a good GPA. I was working pretty hard to get that one. I either had to take the GRE or GMAT. I chose to take the GRE. The GRE, I actually took it twice. I wanted to maximize my score as much as I could, so I thought, let me take it twice, and the first time I ended up doing okay, the second time I did a bit better. And I also had to get letters of recommendations from my professors. I bothered quite a few professors, and they were kind enough to write me pretty strong letters of recommendations. I also had to put together generally some sort of statement, what my background was, my story essentially of why I wanted to get into a master's of business analytics and how that was going to serve my future goals. So a lot of the schools that I was looking at required that I took a calculus and a statistics course at some point, and luckily I'd already taken those my first or second year of school, so I was done with the math requirement of it. So some of the requirements varied school to school, but generally that was what was required. And maybe I had to put together another essay prompt depending on what the school had asked, but generally this is what I was required to have as I was applying to a lot of the programs I'm about to discuss. Listen, before I even applied, I was basically convinced that I wouldn't get in anywhere. Clearly I had a lot of self-confidence at that point, but I was pretty convinced that I wouldn't get in anywhere, so I thought, okay, I need to at least apply to 5 to 6 schools and then see if I'm lucky enough to get in anywhere. So the first school that I applied for, in no particular order that I want to talk about, is the University of Georgia. So I actually attended the University of Georgia for my undergrad, and they were just starting to open up an analytics program the year that I was going to be enrolled. And so I thought, okay, let's apply and see what happens. I will discuss the general stats that I'm seeing for the program now. Obviously, when I was applying, I didn't have this information since I would have been one of the first classes. But the GMAT average is 640, GRE average is 309, and GPA average is 3.6. And it actually seems like by the percentage of students, a lot of students come from business / econ when they're pursuing their analytics degree. Their average cohort is 79 students. Average work experience is 18 months. In terms of their demographics, they're mostly domestic, at 85% being domestic students, 15% being international students, 40% female, 10% diversity. So they actually have quite a good amount of information on their website. I also want to discuss their employment statistics in case you're interested. I'm going to go over similar metrics for all of the schools, but 100% received offers within a month of graduating. It's quite impressive, actually. The average starting salary is $77,306. So my understanding is that a lot of the students that graduate from the University of Georgia's program tend to enroll or tend to get jobs in the surrounding Atlanta area, and typically cost of living is a bit lesser, so your pay might be a little lesser, but it's a great starting salary overall. And there seems to be quite a big range of companies that have hired with pretty varied job titles as well, so definitely an interesting value proposition. So overall, when I was applying, I really did love what the program was going to offer, and it was actually going to cost me, I believe, around $30,000 to attend the program, and there was really no scholarship that they were offering at that point. So I was lucky enough to have gotten into the school. I was accepted, and I chose not to attend primarily because I already attended the University of Georgia for my undergrad, and I didn't want it to be kind of repetitive in attending the master's program as well, because I kind of already have access to the alumni base and resources from graduating from the undergrad program, so I wanted to go elsewhere and kind of get a different experience, so to speak. So that's why I chose not to attend the University of Georgia's Master's in Business Analytics, but it seems like a really great program. So the second school I applied, in keeping with the Georgia theme, is Georgia Tech's Master's in Analytics. So there are 3 tracks at this program. So there's Analytics Tools, there's Business Analytics, and then there is a computational track. In terms of their base curriculum, I did like that the school was pretty technical. There's data analytics in business, there's data and visual analytics, statistics courses, and there's also elective courses that you can take. In terms of their class size, there are 116 students, which is definitely a bit bigger than the Georgia program that I was looking at. It's actually quite a lot of male students. They can definitely do better in terms of their diversity. So there's 75% male, 25% female. So it seems like the type of student is a bit technical, maybe has had a little bit of work experience. I also know students who are in this program that don't have any work experience, so please don't let anything that you see really hold you back from applying. In terms of their salaries, they're in Atlanta, students make around $94,000, $95,000, and that does not include bonuses. The West, it's about $128,000 and kind of scattered everywhere in between. So in terms of the costs, for Georgia Tech's program, the total tuition and fees for residents is around $41,800. For students applying out of state, it would be around $56,000. So it definitely would be a little bit more expensive than the University of Georgia's program. So I was not outright accepted. I kind of applied a bit later to the program. The third program that I applied to is William and Mary's program in Master's in Business Analytics. I thought it was a really interesting program. It's a residential program, and it's really focusing on trying to get insight out of data. And I really liked that it was pretty strong technical program. In terms of the class profile, it was going to be about 85 students. Average GPA is 3.5, 42% female students. Love seeing some female representation. In terms of average work experience, it's 2 years or less, so it's kind of an early career program. In terms of costs, tuition, in-state would be $36,000. I was out of state, so it was going to be around $43,000, and there's other mandatory fees about $7,000, and total is about $50,000. So kind of expensive than some of the in-state schools that I was considering. Average starting salary is about $78,000. Really good stats. 96% full-time employment offer rate class of 2021. So their career outcomes definitely seemed pretty strong. And I was actually lucky enough to be accepted to this program, and I also received a scholarship. Yeah, so the scholarship wouldn't have covered the entire tuition and fees, but it covered around 20% maybe 25% of the fees. Also, the fees were a little lower when I was considering, but this is the current tuition and fees. I ended up liking 2 other schools a lot more, and so I was wanting to focus there. I'll go over those at the end. But this was definitely my top 3 or 4 of the list that I considered going to. I never visited the school, but I did have good experiences talking to students. I networked with a few students that went here, and they really seem to have good experience, honestly. So yeah, I have good things to say about the program. The program I want to discuss is Johns Hopkins program in business analytics and risk management. So this was actually a fairly new program when I was applying, and I heard a lot of good things about their undergrad program, so I was definitely interested in applying. So in terms of their class profile, they're 65% female, very strong. 10% of students are from the US, so it's actually a pretty international program. Getting a call? Average GMAT is 686, 3.55 average undergrad GPA, and less than a year of full-time work experience. What students on average get paid is around $63,951 in North America and $45,496 in Asia, and that's based on the 3-year average base salary from 2017 to 2020. So it seems like their average salaries do tend to be a little lower than some of the other programs. So in terms of the cost, it's a pretty expensive program at $76,500 for a year. It's just a year. It's STEM designated. It's based in DC. So this was an interesting proposition. I applied and I was actually accepted, and I was actually offered a scholarship that would have taken care of most of my fees. I actually ended up visiting the school, and it was a good experience. I kind of talked to a couple students, talked to a professor, I talked to their career services. I just didn't see myself fitting into the campus climate. I wanted a school that was kind of integrated into the larger community of that school. So their building was in DC, but their actual undergrad programs are in Baltimore. So it kind of felt like I would have gotten a different kind of experience if I'd went here. So ultimately I decided that this wouldn't be the school that I would attend. The school I applied to is UC Irvine, University of California's Irvine school. So this was an interesting program. It was the only program that I applied to on the West Coast. Class size is 140, so bigger than some of the other programs that I was considering. Average work experience is 4 years, so a bit more of students that have a little bit more work experience. Women 61%, great to see. All right, now let's talk about the career outcomes of this school. Starting salary is around $83,000. Actually have quite a lot of data they publish on their website, and I love to see when a school publishes a lot of data for their employment report, because it tells you a lot more than just when you see the average salary that a school posts, because what does that even really mean, right? It doesn't give us a lot of data, so I love seeing when a school provides a lot of info. It seems like in terms of their fees, it would be around $70,000 with the program fee, student access fee, and student health insurance. Also, like I said, tip, don't get the school's health insurance if you don't have to. Get your own private insurance, and then tell the school that you got insurance if you want to save some extra money. So this was a school I actually had done an interview for as well. A lot of these schools I had to do some interview, but I did get accepted. Woo! I did receive a scholarship, but it was actually very small compared to some of the other schools I was considering. So at that point I thought, I don't really want to be on the West Coast. I just felt that this wasn't the perfect fit based on the costs and also how far away it was from the East Coast. So for that reason, I nixed the school. Okay, my legs are starting to hurt. I should have thought about that before I thought it would be better to stand for the video. So my 6th school that I want to tell you about that I applied to is in North Carolina. So my final 2 schools were actually in North Carolina, and this school was actually my final 2. So this school is Wake Forest, and the program I applied to is the Master's in Business Analytics program. So overall, this was the school I actually visited. I was really excited. So enrollment is about 147 students. Average GPA is 3.46. So overall, their class is actually kind of big compared to some of the other schools that we were seeing. So in terms of their career outcomes, I actually don't see the average salary on their website. I remember they had it when I was applying, but I don't know what happened. I remember it being kind of around 70 to 80-ish. But I don't know. So in terms of their tuition, their full tuition is $52,106. They also have a required health service / activity fee of $790. So yeah, these schools are expensive. Oh my gosh. So I actually ended up getting a very sizable scholarship for the school. And I visited, and honestly, I really loved the campus. I even looked at places I could live. I was really serious about attending this program. I thought that the career outcomes were pretty strong. The courses seemed really aligned to what I wanted. And I actually ended up almost attending the school. I'll talk about my last school and the school I ended up attending, and then I'll kind of give you why I chose to attend that school over there. All right, the last school and the school I ended up attending is Duke's Master's in Quantitative Management Business Analytics program in Durham, North Carolina. I'm wearing blue to kind of represent the school, but this is actually UNC blue more so, and they're our rivals, so I should have thought about that closer. But let me talk about the program. Class size is 258 students. It's actually quite a big program and bigger than all the other programs that I was considering. Average age is 23, 25 months average work experience, 3.6 average undergraduate GPA, and GMAT range was 633 to 750. So they're about 48% women, which is very close to 50%, so we like to see that representation. Undergrad majors about 50% business and accounting, and the rest engineering, econ, liberal arts. All right, let's discuss the costs. This is also one of the most expensive schools. Tuition is $73,000 and some change. Medical insurance, $6,700. I ended up getting my own insurance. It was cheaper. Living expenses, they have more information. All right. I did get a scholarship for this place. It was not going to be cheaper than the Wake Forest school. In fact, I would have basically had to pay almost twice as much to attend this school as I would have to attend Wake Forest. And honestly, I spent so long trying to narrow it down. I spent 2 weeks, and I would go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I talked to people, and then I'd get their input, and then I would still be confused. I wanted to go to Duke, but I thought that the overall value proposition of Wake Forest was much better because of the costs, and I was really afraid of the price tag. So after the scholarship that I got from Duke, my cost would have ended up being about $55,000, and that's still quite a lot of money, and I was mind-boggled as to going into that much debt for my master's program. But I think ultimately what ended up winning Duke for me was I did visit. It was a beautiful campus. I loved the actual school that the program was in. The graduate school was separate from the undergrad school, which was different from Wake because it was together. And I really like that grad students get their own space even within the big campus. I thought the career outcomes were really strong, but really kind of what sold me also is that their business programs and business school in general has a really great representation. It's the Fuqua School of Business, and their MBA program is really strong. So I thought in terms of brand recognition, Duke would be really great to have. I really liked that the school focused a lot on getting a well-rounded education. So it had a mix of both technical courses and non-technical courses. And I really liked the strategy track and some of the courses, including the people analytics course, that the strategy track had. So that kind of veered me towards Duke as well. Yeah, and ultimately I ended up choosing Duke. I honestly think I could have been happy no matter what school I chose, but I'm happy I chose Duke. I think I talked about this in other videos. I won't go too much into what my actual experience was like. If you guys want more detail, I can make a whole video on what my actual business school experience was like during the program. But yeah, I ended up choosing Duke. I spent $55,000. Quite a lot of money. It's all paid off now. So that's it for today's video. Essentially, I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things that I was thinking about as I was considering different programs, as well as different programs I ended up applying to. Like I said, there's a lot more programs available now than there were when I was applying. So you should definitely do your own research on the types of programs that are available and what their value proposition might be, because it's a huge investment and you definitely need to be certain in what the value the school is going to provide you, because if you don't have that clarity, there is no point in getting your master's in analytics. I really want to thank you for taking a minute to watch this video, or several minutes. I hope that you got some good information out of it. If you did, please take a second to subscribe. The channel has been growing a lot lately in the past couple of weeks or months since I've been really consistent, and I want to continue to grow it and get it to 1,000 and more and keep growing the community really. So thank you for being here. I would really appreciate it if you took a second to subscribe, and you can expect more content like this in the future. All right, that's it for now. Bye.